Clinic management is based on a website. We will consider it from the client's perspective. The client visits the website. The structure of the website is multi-level. It includes services, procedures, and products. In order for the client to make an appointment, they select Registration. A list of doctors opens up. The client can choose any doctor. Please note that each doctor has a label indicating the language they speak. This very convenient feature allows you to choose a doctor in the language needed for service. Let's select a doctor. A section opens with dates when registration can be selected. You can scroll to any necessary date and open the available times for the doctor on each date. A form for the client's contact details opens. The client specifies their first name and last name. They provide an email address through which they can be contacted, and it specifies the phone number, the contact number. There is also a separate field where the client can provide any necessary comments. For example, we write the comment, "Need a consultation." We click Confirm, and a form opens that confirms the registration. All necessary fields are filled out in the form, namely the subject, the appointment, date and time, and duration. A photograph and contact details of the doctor are provided, along with all the information about the client and a special field where messages for the client are indicated, such as information about conditions or any clinic policies. Additionally, there is functionality that allows the user to add this appointment to their calendar, block a new appointment, or cancel this registration. Thus, the client submitted the registration data for the procedure. In clinic management, functionality has been implemented that prevents booking a service that uses a permanent device with two doctors at the same time in order to avoid conflicts between appointments. How does it work? The administrator selects the equipment in the permanent device section, then chooses the device or equipment needed in the appointment section. The information is saved. And at this time, on this date, the permanent device will be unavailable for other patients. Now let's consider how the client's appointment is viewed in the clinic. The administrator, nurse, or doctor goes to the schedule section. The schedule for the current day is opened. This schedule includes all doctors. We see a list of doctors who have appointments for procedures. We open the weekly view. We can see information about each doctor. It is also possible to view information by year in order to analyze the data and draw conclusions. Let's take a look at our current appointment. We open the data for the week. The staff will always have a notification on the screen that a new registration has arrived. This registration needs to be confirmed by contacting the client for clarification. A preview of the appointment card and the registration card opens. We see the topic, we see the doctor, the patient, we see the status, and we see how the patient is registered. We open the appointment card, the registration card. All fields here are editable, meaning that additions and clarifications can be made. Topic: client name, client first name, service appointment subject, status, such as like, we contact the client and confirm that the client is ready. It is possible to select the necessary service or the required room for the appointment, as indicated by the patient, along with the date and time of registration. There is also functionality that allows for multiple repeat, consecutive registrations. That is, for example, to repeat the registration of a client, to book a client for a service within a month, a week, or a year, and according to specified criteria. Large clinics often use waiting screens that display information about the patient, the doctor, and the room where the appointment will take place. Let's take a look at this functionality. We enter the waiting screen module. Information about the procedures and services that will be provided in the upcoming dates opens up. Here is the information about the topic, date, time, and participants. We select all appointments, click on waiting screen, and a screen appears that indicates the status. Which patient, the doctor, the time, and how much longer they have to wait. In clinic management, seamless integration is implemented, meaning that from the client's appointment card, the administrator can immediately access the client's profile. For example, our patient, Yaroslav the Wise, we press the special button for the patient card, go to it, and immediately see the MRN number. This is a special medical registration number. It is unique for each client. Next, the patient's first and last name with the option to add a photo. All fields are editable, meaning that the data can be entered and modified as needed. We select the patient's gender, marital status, and specify the date of birth. The system will automatically calculate the age. Next, we enter the patient's address information, including the city where they are located, street, country, nationality, and specify the type of document the patient is using, either a passport or an ID card. In the referral field, we can specify the referral. That is, essentially, the person who brought the patient to the clinic for the purpose of earning commission percentages as a reward. These can be either employees or, for example, marketing activities. Once the fields are filled out, we move on. We can open the registration form. Often in clinics, the registration form is used for the agreement on the services provided by the clinic. Here, all the data has already been automatically pulled in. Additionally, information that will be needed for marketing can be specified, such as how the client learned about the clinic. Information about relatives can also be provided, which can be contacted if necessary. The registration form contains all the rights and responsibilities of the client. All this data is editable, meaning that any necessary information required by the business can be entered. There is also a functionality for a questionnaire for the client, which contains information about their illnesses and the procedures the client has undergone previously. The clinic management functionality is implemented on the iPad, allowing the client to independently fill in this information and then transfer it to the system. Allergies, the client's lifestyle, and separate special sections unique to each clinic. Well, for example, for a clinic of aesthetic medicine, there are specific questions. For a clinic of dentistry, there is additional information, and so on. All these sections are editable, and any business can add the necessary information. The client verifies their data and agrees to the registration form. The functionality for the client's signature is opened. 3 options are presented here: an automatic signature that is generated by itself, or the client can sign with a stylus or finger, thereby confirming their consent to the registration form. The registration form opens in PDF format. It can be sent to the client, printed, and is automatically uploaded to the system and linked to the client's card. So, the client registered for the procedure, arrived at the clinic, and is immediately directed either to a nurse or to a doctor. The doctor enters the patient's section. A list of all patients opens up. The doctor finds the necessary record either by searching or by selecting the patient. We access our patient. All information has been confirmed by the administrator. We have the client's signature data, allergy information, and a special notice, which shows that the client has an allergy. We see that this information is indicated in the list of allergies. There are sections for the nurse or the doctor for the initial examination. So, let's consider how the initial examination takes place. The primary examination card opens. The doctor or nurse enters the data: weight, height, body temperature, heart rate, respiratory rate, such as. Please note that the body mass index is automatically calculated and the body mass state is also displayed, i.e. current status. Data on oxygen saturation levels and the patient's blood pressure are added, and necessary details can be noted in the notes. We select a doctor or a nurse who will conduct the examination and save the data. With each patient visit, by collecting such information, we will have a complete history of the client's data. Let's consider the scenario when the client visits an aesthetic medicine specialist. There is a special separate tab that displays all the necessary information. All fields are already filled in and the data is in the system. This includes skin type, skin color, moisture level, skin texture, data on acne conditions, and data on the client's wrinkles. Data on the other skin parameters. All this data is already recorded in the system, so the doctor only needs to select. Now we will look at the functionality of face mapping. The database contains information about the areas on the patient's face, and for each area, the doctor can specify the necessary details. For example, for the first zone, the 10th zone, and so on. We save the information. The record has been registered, entered into the database, and now the doctor has complete information about the patient's condition during each appointment. Now let's take a look at the patient's dentistry chart. In the same way, data is saved in the patient's medical history. We open a new record. We see the patient and the proposed service. We select her from the list. She is already pre-installed. The doctor prescribes the procedure plan or treatment plan for the client. All the necessary information has already been entered, or it can be written manually. The date doctor and the client's dental chart are opened. In each necessary case, the doctor prescribes all the required details, including the current procedure he will be performing and what the treatment plan will be. All necessary information is filled out, and detailed information can be specified for each individual tooth. For example, we select which tooth, specify the service, provide details about the procedure, and save. The primary information is available. The client has proceeded to the service. In the Documents section, all necessary documents can be attached. Now I will show you how to generate an invoice directly from the patient's ID card. We press the special button, Create Invoice. The client's information is automatically loaded immediately. About the date, about the address to which the invoice should be sent, the service, the cost of this service. Additionally, a discount percentage can be specified if the client has any special conditions. The service is provided to the client, and an invoice is issued to the client. We move on to the account. All information has been automatically pulled from the database, including the client's name and address. If necessary, we can select a bonus card if the client has one. Expiration date. The clinic may have several price lists, payment terms, and then the service itself, its description, its cost, its rate, and its taxes. We can also add a discount to this service. We specify the discount percentage, for example 10%. When the discount is applied, the system automatically recalculates the actual amount. This data can be exported to PDF, sent to the client, and there is also an additional field to assign tasks to responsible employees for review. These actions are performed automatically, so they can be predefined in the system. We confirm the invoice, and a preview of the invoice opens, meaning we can see all the information about the client, the services provided, the discount, and we can confirm, send it to the client, or print this invoice. Now, let's consider the complete patient card: MRN number, client name, email address, phone, gender, contact information, passport, referral, doctor, and so on. The medical card filled out by the nurse includes allergies, blood type, and all data from the initial examination. This data is filled out each time. Information for the cosmetologist, information for the dentist, doctor's research. Now I will show you the functionality that displays ICD codes. These are specialized codes from the International Classification of Diseases. In the Diagnostic section, there is a section for ICD codes, which lists all existing codes according to the International Classification by WHO. There are more than 10,000 of them, and the doctor can indicate information about the client using the code. There is also data on the CPT code. This is a code that specifies the classification of existing diseases, for example in the United States. Let's see how many there are here. There are over 1,000 records here. So, we have all the information about the patient, including their studies, medical history, and treatment history. Special sections have been created for convenience, which are duplicated. For example, here is the doctor's examination section, and it is listed at the top. The dentist's examination is separate, along with specific client sales. This section outlines the services that have already been provided to the patient, along with the amounts and the status of the bill.